As of now, I've been drawing for 1,000 days. Or probably longer than that. Hey, future me editing this video, just put the real number right there. Anyways, in this video, I'll show you guys how I went from this to this. But first, a little context. Back in January 2021, my smooth, tiny monkey brain decided that it wanted to do something. And for some reason it chose art. To this day, I still don't really know why. Here's a few drawings from that time. Pretty bad, I know, but what's important is over that 1 year, I learned that I really wanted to try and be an artist. But there was a problem. Even after a whole year of drawing, I still sucked. I know I shouldn't be expecting much for myself after only a year, but I still kind of had high hopes for myself, you know? Looking at all those amazing artists on Twitter and Pinterest really kind of forced myself to raise my own standards a little bit. And so I started my journey by drawing for 1,000 days. That way I can have a way cooler video than PewDiePie. He only drew for 100 days. I drew for 1,000. And as you know, bigger number, better person. And then I'll become super cool and famous and succeed in all my dreams. Yeah, never mind. Back to the main topic. Did I really think I could draw for 1,000 days? Not really. I was more just trying to see how far I could go. Realistically, I was thinking around the ballpark of 1 year. So that was my goal, to draw from January 1st, 2022 to January 1st, 2023 for 1 year straight. The beginning of this journey actually wasn't that bad. Sure, after a week or two, I wanted to quit everything, you know, the usual. But after shrugging that off a few times, you kind of just stopped thinking that altogether. At this time, I had no followers, not that many friends that I could really show my art to, and I definitely couldn't show my family. So, no real external motivation for me to draw. So how did I? Well, what's the opposite of external? Internal. Internal motivation. Those two words are what pushed me to where I am today. To put it simply, the first thing that comes to my mind after I finish the drawing is, am I happy with this? Not, is someone else going to like this? Although admittedly, most of the time the answer was no, I didn't really like it, but that's besides the point. My thought is, if I can't even like my own art, how can I expect someone else to like it for me? And so, over the course of the first 365 days of this, I trudged through dissatisfied drawing over dissatisfied drawing, slowly improving little by little. Learning from amazing artists from all over the place, you know, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. All the art that isn't mine in this video, by the way, will be in the description below. So usually I keep a list in my mind of things that I need to do. And so this year I started off with lines and proportions. And then later on I moved on to things like lighting and colors. So based on these drawings from the beginning of the year, you can see a lot more line work at play here. And then near the end, there's a lot of me experimenting and trying out different colors and things like that. And so by the end of the year, as you can see, I was starting to get pretty decent at lighting and colors. I was getting pretty satisfied with what I was doing, although you could still see a lot of mistakes here and there. But it's way better than the improvement I saw in the year prior. Oh, and I forgot to mention, at the end of the year, I started doing some light studies. It was like the very last month, but these really helped me improve the way I look at things and the way I use my colors. And now we're off to... And now we're here in 2023. Wait a minute. It's been a year. I thought this challenge was supposed to be hard or something. I mean, a few days I didn't want to draw, but I just kind of did it anyways. And if you think this is leading to some grand secret on how I'm able to draw every day, it really isn't. I just kind of do it. But I didn't want to stop there. So as any sane person would do, I upped the number from 365 to 1,000. So on the topic of improvement, I kind of just did the same thing that I was doing a few months prior. I mean, back then, me about a year ago, didn't really think too much about how to improve. I just kind of did it over and over and over and over again. Of course, I still had my plan and I was still watching videos here and there, but I was just kind of doing the same thing, hoping something different would happen. And while it did work for the first 3-4 months, it really started to fall off after that. And so by the summer of 2023, I kind of realized I had an idea of what I wanted to improve, but I had no idea of how I would get there. That wasn't until July when I stumbled upon this small art community / competition thing called Chromacore, run by this small channel called Cynic's Design. Yeah, real small. At this point I was feeling a little bit lost, so I was like, yeah, why not give it a try? So the rules are simple. At the very beginning, you submit your own original character, and then over the course of 30 days, you draw one full illustration a day. The character design part isn't too hard, unless you procrastinate until 2 days before the deadline, but I still squeeze it out in that little time left. The real challenge is the 30-day drawing whatever thing. I've never tried to draw something in under a day before, really. It usually takes me like 2 to 3 days for me to make something at the least, so this was gonna be real grueling for me. Skip forward 30 days, I did it, let's go. It was real hard. I almost quit some days, like really almost quit some days, but I stuck through it. In this time, I got some critiques from Cynics himself. Thanks, big man. He really helped me a lot with some of the smaller things in my drawings, but the biggest takeaway from this was how to speed up my process, how to get from a rough draft to a finished drawing in as quick time as possible. And this led me later in the year to what I call the 3 pillars of drawing: your speed, quality, and thoughtfulness. Speed and quality are pretty obvious. Speed is how fast it takes you to finish something. Quality is how well rendered or lined it is. But what is thoughtfulness? Thoughtfulness is basically how you plan around your drawing. What are your references? How are you going to make this? What's the composition? Things like that. So this Chromacore really brought me to the forefront of how I'm going to speed things up and how I'm going to think about things more. And that's really what I tended to focus on later in the year. And so before I knew it, another year has passed. It's been 730 days into the challenge already, and I'm actually making some pretty decent stuff here. A few hits, a few misses, but as you could clearly see, there is a vast difference from the end to the beginning of the year, which I'm pretty happy about. But there's still something missing. Well, let's see what happens in... And now we're here, 2024. What are we gonna do? At the very beginning of this year, I set a few very distinct goals for myself, ones that were very different compared to the previous ones. Throughout this video, a few of you may have noticed 2 main things. 1, I've been getting really good at making characters, but not so good at making backgrounds. So some of you may think, okay, I'll just be working on backgrounds this year, but not so much. I think it'll be much easier and much better to get extremely good at that one thing you already know what to do, so you can translate that skill down into another thing. And so for most of this year, I chose to specialize in characters. And 2, back in chapter 1, I mentioned having 0 followers, 0 friends, yada yada yada, all that depressing stuff. And it's been 2 years, so what happened with all that? Well, I was wondering that too at the beginning of the year. Sure, I had more friends and all, and that was nice, but I still didn't really have a following or much of any of that. So the second goal this year was to have some kind of following. Sure, it's not really on topic with the whole video being about my improvement and all, but hey, it's kind of the whole reason this video is being made, so I'm gonna put it in here anyways. By the way, my Twitch is right here. It's where I post like all my art. A follow would be greatly appreciated. Alright, that's enough self-advertisement. Back to the art. So my main topic this year was characters, and how did I improve them? Well, I just drew them a lot. Very similar to last year's plan, I know. But this time I knew what I needed to do. I knew I just needed to grind and put in the hours. And oh boy did I grind. By about midsummer, a few months ago, I had about 40 full illustrations. And oh boy, would you look at the time. It's chroma core again. So this time, I wanted to blow my previous character out of the water. And that means not procrastinating the entire thing to about 2 days before, which surprisingly this time I actually managed to do. So for a week prior to the deadline, I worked on this design for about 16 hours, and man, I will say I am quite proud of this result. Sure, there are a few kinks here and there, but overall I would say this is a huge step up from last year. So feeling pretty confident of what I just did, I decided to do the competition again, obviously. It was going pretty good at the beginning, but after about 7 days, I really started to feel kind of burnt out. Now, this is pretty weird for me because ever since the beginning of this challenge, I've never really felt burnout other than the first few weeks, but I was just able to shrug those off. But this was different. But don't worry, this title isn't a lie. I still drew every day. I just spent a few weeks taking a step back and really kind of making what I wanted to make. Maybe later I'll make a separate video in and of itself discussing how I did during that time. But moving on, so finally we're on the recent months. So for the past 2 months, I've really been experimenting with new styles, trying to get rid of some line art. I've really been admiring these painter-like artists that are just able to do a rough sketch and then one layer everything on top of that. So I've been trying that a lot recently and been getting some pretty decent results. And that's it. It's been 1,000 days. Kind of anticlimactic, I know. Nothing's really happened in the past month or so. But either way, let's just move on to... And here we are 1,000 days later. I'm still pretty surprised I was able to do this considering how lazy I am in pretty much every other aspect of my life. But hey, I guess I wanted to do something right at least once. So this video is pretty much me just looking back on the past 1,000 days. No real tutorials or anything. I want to save those for later videos. But the real question is, what do I do now? Well, like any sane person, now that I've hit 1,000, it's time to go to 10,000, baby. We're going to the 5 digits. I'm going to be drawing every day till I'm 30, guys. It's going to be so good. I cannot wait till I'm 30 years old, still single, still stuck in my room drawing every day. But in all seriousness, I don't really have a plan anymore. I'm just going to keep drawing every day till I just, don't. Maybe once I'm like professional or something, you got to keep the streak up, baby. Think of the streak. You got to think of the streak. Okay. Think about the next video. It's going to be 2,000 days. It's going to be insane. But yeah, that's the end of my journey. I'm here now. That's the video. Cool. Check out my stuff. Would really appreciate it. If you're still here, you're a real one, and peace. Oh yeah, one more thing. Some suggestions on what the next video could be. Like I have a few things in mind, but if you guys want like a specific tutorial on something, that would be cool. But yeah, okay, seriously now, bye.